Welcome to Lifespan, the weekly podcast that digs up the dirt on the most outrageous, chaotic, and downright WTF lives ever lived. Forget what you learned in school. This is history's unhinged side.
That's right.
Today, you've sent us a fascinating collection of testimonies detailing the life of Salvador Dalí. Our bizarre journey will unpack the key elements that transformed him from, well, just an artist, into a full-blown cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, he really transcended art, didn't he?
Totally. You're curious about the driving forces behind his eccentricities and, how they intertwined with his undeniable artistic genius. So let's jump into this wild ride.
Okay. It's truly remarkable, actually, sifting through these testimonies to see how early the seeds of Dalí's unique character were sown.
Right.
Born Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dalí Domenech in Figueres in 1904. It wasn't just the sheer length of his name that hinted at a life less ordinary. His family background offers some crucial insights right from the start.
Exactly. We see his father as maybe a typical middle-class lawyer, a man with perhaps a more traditional outlook.
Firm views, the testimonies suggest.
While his mother appears to have actively nurtured his artistic side. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of heavy. The profound impact of his older brother.
Also named Salvador.
Who tragically died just 9 months before Dalí himself was born.
Yeah, looking at the broader context of these testimonies, the narrative strongly suggests that Dalí's parents conveyed this idea that he was, in essence, his deceased brother's reincarnation.
Wow.
So the crucial insight here is that Dalí was raised with this ingrained sense of being, well, a replacement, a reincarnation, and that fundamentally shaped his identity and likely fueled his lifelong need to stand out, to be seen as truly unique.
That makes perfect sense. And it wasn't solely this fascinating, if slightly morbid, family dynamic. Even in his early years, the testimonies reveal glimpses of the eccentricity that would later become his trademark.
Definitely.
Apparently, he was a prodigious daydreamer, and even his childhood fashion choices were rather unconventional long hair, peculiar attire.
It raises that question, doesn't it? Was this inherent or something he consciously cultivated even back then?
Right, nature versus nurture.
The testimonies suggest a blend of both, really. Alongside these early quirks, he displayed genuine artistic talent from a young age, achieving recognition for his impressionist paintings by the time he was just 13. So there was a foundational artistic drive underpinning it all.
But then you encounter these, unsettling stories from his youth, intentionally throwing himself downstairs to get attention.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
And even accounts of cruelty towards animals and other children. It paints a rather complex picture, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and it speaks to a potential deep-seated need for attention, perhaps even a nascent desire to shock and provoke. What's significant, though, is that his father, despite his seemingly firm demeanor, actually became an early supporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, organizing an exhibition of his charcoal drawings at their home in 1917, then a public one in 1918. This early validation likely reinforced his ambition and, his inherent willingness to be in the spotlight.
Okay, so we have this emerging artistic talent coupled with these burgeoning eccentricities. What happens when he enters the realm of formal art education? Does that experience, try to mold him or restrain him at all?
Quite the opposite, it would seem. His initial studies were in Figueres, but then came this pivotal exposure to modern painting through Ramon Pichot's family in Cadaqués.
Broadening his horizons.
Exactly. But it was his enrollment at the prestigious Real Academia de Bellas Artes de San Fernando in Madrid that truly set the stage for his rebellion.
Yes. The testimonies highlight his formative friendships there.
Yeah.
Luis Buñuel, Federico Garcia Lorca. Quite the creative hotbed.
Absolutely.
But they also underscore his inherently rebellious nature. I mean, it wasn't just a little unruly. He got expelled twice.
And what's particularly insightful here is why he was expelled. The first time, allegedly for inciting a student protest, challenging authority. Right. But the second time, declaring the examiners utterly incompetent.
Wow, that takes guts or arrogance.
Or both.
Or both. That wasn't mere teenage angst. It was a fundamental rejection of traditional authority and a profound belief in his own artistic vision above all established norms.
Yeah.
Looking at the broader context, these expulsions likely solidified his fiercely independent spirit and propelled him further down a path distinctly his own, far removed from conventional artistic trajectories.
So now he's charting his own course outside the academy. How does his distinctive artistic style truly begin to coalesce, and when does Surrealism enter the picture?
Well, the testimony suggests that in his early artistic explorations, he was, influenced by movements like Futurism and Cubism, experimenting with their principles.
Standard enough for the time.
Right. However, his move to Paris in the late 1920s proved to be transformative. It was there that he encountered the burgeoning Surrealist movement. The perfect storm, almost.
It really seemed to resonate deeply with Dalí's own emerging sensibilities. It must have felt like finding his tribe intellectually and artistically.
It truly does seem like a natural fit, doesn't it?
Oh.
It's almost as if Surrealism was waiting for Dalí's unique brand of artistic, well, madness.
Huh, perhaps. And he officially joined the Surrealist group in 1929, rapidly becoming one of its most recognizable and central figures.
But his contribution wasn't limited to simply embracing the surreal. He actually pioneered his own unique methodology, didn't he? The paranoiac-critical method.
Precisely. And what's absolutely crucial to grasp about this paranoia-critical method is that it wasn't just a license for random, bizarre behavior.
Okay.
It was a deliberate and systematic technique, a conscious strategy for Dalí to actively access his subconscious mind and meticulously translate those often unsettling dreamlike images onto the canvas.
So intentional eccentricity.
You could say that. An intentional effort to cultivate a specific state of mind highly conducive to surrealist creation.
Okay, let's delve a little deeper into this paranoia-critical method. It sounds like he was intentionally trying to tap into a realm of irrationality, to see the world through a different, almost distorted lens.
That's the essence of it. He himself described it as a form of irrational knowledge.
Irrational knowledge. Interesting phrase.
Isn't it? A deliberate way to systematically create associations and interpretations that intentionally defied conventional logic. Think of it like seeing shapes in clouds. But Dalí would actively try to see as many different, even contradictory shapes as possible, and then use those fleeting, often bizarre visions as the fundamental basis for his artistic creations.
Okay, I think I get it.
Looking at the broader context, this method was absolutely key to generating his uniquely disturbing and captivating imagery. It was a way to make his own personal eccentricities a cornerstone of his artistic process.
So at this point, the art and the eccentricity are becoming inextricably linked, almost indistinguishable. And this calculated cultivation of a flamboyant public persona wasn't confined to his artwork. The testimonies are replete with examples of his outrageous public behavior.
Oh, completely. And what's particularly fascinating when examining these testimonies is just how deliberate it all seemed.
Like the mustache.
Exactly like the mustache, that trademark upturned waxed mustache. It wasn't a casual grooming choice. It became an instantly recognizable icon, a crucial element of this carefully constructed image he projected as a mischievous, provocative figure.
And the sheer audacity of some of his antics.
Yeah.
Lecturing in a full-blown diving suit. Can you even picture that?
Right. It's hard to imagine.
Or the legendary tale of him driving a car filled to the brim with cauliflowers all the way from Spain to Paris.
Because?
Cauliflowers.
Apparently, yeah. It almost blurs the lines between his life and a continuous piece of performance art.
That's precisely the insight here. The testimonies strongly suggest he possessed a keen understanding of the power of spectacle.
His eccentricity wasn't merely a personal quirk. It served as a potent tool to amplify the impact of his artistic work and, frankly, to draw widespread attention to the Surrealist movement as a whole.
So he was a master marketer in a way.
In many ways, yes, a master of creating memorable, often shocking public moments that ensured he remained firmly in the public consciousness.
It wasn't just the grand headline-grabbing stunts either, though. Even his day-to-day existence seemed, well, decidedly unconventional, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. Those peculiar sleep patterns, for instance.
Including the rather intriguing slumber with a key method. What was the purpose behind that unusual practice?
Well, the testimony suggests this slumber with a key was a deliberate technique. The idea was to hold a heavy key while dozing off in a chair.
Okay.
As he drifted into sleep, his hand would relax, the key would drop into a plate placed below, and the clatter would wake him up.
And the point was?
To capture those fleeting, often surreal images that tend to surface in the hypnagogic state, that brief period between wakefulness and sleep, harnessing the subconscious, even in microdoses.
Wow. That's dedication.
It is. And then, of course, you have his very open embrace of his own self-importance, a seemingly genuine satisfaction in simply being Salvador Dalí.
And let's not forget the snails. His rather specific fascination with collecting snails. That's a detail that certainly stands out for its sheer oddity.
It is, and it speaks to a mind that found profound interest and perhaps even symbolic meaning in the most unexpected of objects. And who could overlook Babou?
Babou the ocelot, casually brought along to social gatherings on a leash.
Right. That's hardly your typical household pet, is it?
Not exactly.
Mm.
It all points towards this very deliberate cultivation of an eccentric lifestyle, almost as a form of constant creative stimulation, maybe, a way to fuel his art.
Exactly. Looking at the bigger picture, his unusual habits and rather extravagant tastes weren't just random quirks. They actively contributed to the surreal environment he meticulously crafted around himself.
Providing a continuous source of artistic inspiration and further solidifying his unique and unforgettable public image.
Now, a figure who looms large in all these testimonies is Gala. This relationship appears to have been absolutely pivotal.
Undeniably so. Meeting Elena Ivanovna Dyakonova, famously known as Gala, in 1929 was a true turning point.
Right.
She became his indispensable muse, his primary, arguably most enduring source of inspiration, and eventually, his wife.
And the testimonies consistently highlight just how unconventional their relationship was right from the start. She was a decade older
10 years.
and married at the time to the poet Polyward.
Exactly. That adds quite a layer to it.
And it wasn't solely a passionate romantic relationship, was it? Gala also played an absolutely crucial role in managing his career, his finances.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
The testimonies underscore her profound influence, not just as an artistic inspiration, but as a shrewd manager, a driving force behind his considerable professional and commercial success.
Yeah.
She was the pragmatic force behind the genius. Interesting. And the reportedly open nature of their relationship adds another layer to this already unconventional dynamic.
It does. Dali's deep personal and professional dependence on her is consistently evident throughout the accounts of his life. She really seemed to enable his world.
So she's actively shaping his career, profoundly inspiring his art, and seemingly facilitating this famously eccentric lifestyle. It's a truly fascinating and complex dynamic.
Absolutely central to understanding Dalí.
Now let's circle back to some of those truly memorable and bizarre public incidents. The diving suit appearance at the lecture in London. What was the intended symbolism there? We touched on it, but...
Right. The testimonies strongly suggest it was meant as a potent visual metaphor for diving deep into the subconscious mind, a literal representation of the core of his artistic process.
Okay. And what about the Rolls-Royce inexplicably filled with cauliflowers?
Apparently, he held a peculiar fascination with their intricate geometric forms, even perceiving some kind of profound mathematical significance within them. Who knows, really?
Only Dalí, perhaps. And his utterly unforgettable pronouncements, "I don't do drugs, I am drugs." That's a quote that just sticks with you.
It really does. It encapsulates his complete immersion in his own unique reality, this self-created world of surrealism. It's a powerful declaration that his art and his being were inherently mind-altering, that he himself was the ultimate source of the bizarre and the unexpected.
And then there's the habit of referring to himself in the third person as the Divino Dalí, pure, unadulterated grandiosity.
Oh, completely. It just reinforces this meticulously crafted persona, this unwavering belief in his own exceptional and almost godlike artistic status.
And the anecdote about him drawing on the back of restaurant checks as payment?
Classic Dalí. He
Right.
possessed an absolute certainty that even a casual sketch from his hand held significant monetary value, often far exceeding the cost of the meal.
Which it probably did eventually.
Very likely. These were all deliberate acts designed to disrupt societal norms and to fully embody his surrealist worldview. Performance art, again.
Despite the overwhelming focus on his eccentricity, the testimonies also unequivocally demonstrate that he achieved significant and lasting artistic recognition. It wasn't all just shock value.
Absolutely not. He was widely renowned for his exceptional technical skill, his almost photographic precision in draftsmanship. We can't overlook the sheer mastery underpinning the seemingly chaotic, surreal visions.
True.
And his body of work includes truly iconic pieces like The Persistence of Memory, everyone knows The Melting Clock.
Instantly recognizable worldwide. And his creative endeavors weren't confined solely to painting either. He ventured into filmmaking.
Collaborations with Buñuel like Un Chien de Loup, L'Arche d'Or, intense stuff.
Right, and even contributing dream sequences for Hitchcock's Spellbound and that long-delayed project with Walt Disney, Destino.
Yeah, Destino finally got finished decades later, didn't it?
It did. And
Yeah.
then there's the surprising fact that he designed the Chupa Chups lollipop logo.
That's always a fun trivia point. It really highlights his remarkable versatility and his willingness to engage in a diverse range of projects, deliberately blurring the lines between high art and commercial ventures.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid of that boundary.
Not at all. His contributions to theater and ballet sets and costumes, his unique jewelry pieces, it all underscores this incredibly wide-ranging creativity.
And the formal recognition he received is also noteworthy international acclaim early on, the Grand Cross of the Order of Isabella the Catholic from King Juan Carlos, and of course the creation of the Dalí Theater Museum in his hometown, Figueres, a project he personally oversaw. That feels like the ultimate statement.
It really was, and it stands today as a major testament to his unique legacy. A fully immersive, surreal world constructed by the artist himself. It's incredible.
And the fact that even celestial bodies have been named in his honor, the Salvador Dalí Desert in Bolivia, the Dalí crater on Mercury, that speaks volumes about his lasting cultural impact.
It truly does. He became larger than life, quite literally reaching for the stars.
However, the testimonies also reveal that his journey wasn't without its share of controversies and criticisms.
No, definitely not. His political views, in particular, appear to have ignited significant conflict.
Right. The sources mentioned publicly expressed sympathies for Hitler, an ambiguous stance on fascism. This led to his expulsion from the Surrealist group, didn't it?
It did. The group held strong leftist political leanings, and Dalí's views, or perceived views, clashed dramatically. This remains a significant and, frankly, uncomfortable aspect of his legacy.
Yeah, it raises important ethical considerations. And then there's the increasing commercialization of his art in his later years. Andre Breton's nickname for him, Vida Dollars.
Oof, yes, anagram of Salvador Dalí, meaning eager for dollars. Pretty pointed.
That's harsh.
It sharply reflects the growing criticism from within the Surrealist movement that he was prioritizing financial gain over the core principles of Surrealism. This tension between artistic integrity and commercial success is a recurring theme.
And in his later years, the testimonies also touch upon concerns regarding the authenticity and quality of some of his output. Accusations of forgery, signing blank canvases.
Yes, that casts a somewhat unsettling shadow. It raises legitimate questions about the impact of his declining health, maybe an overemphasis on the commercial side. It's complex and still debated by art historians.
So we've explored a great deal about his eccentric behaviors and the controversies, but let's return to the underlying philosophical concepts. We've touched upon the paranoiac-critical method, but what other key intellectual frameworks shaped his mind?
Well, a significant development, particularly post-World War II, as highlighted in the testimonies, was his articulation of nuclear mysticism.
Nuclear mysticism. Okay, break that down.
It was a truly eccentric and unique fusion of seemingly disparate fields: science, especially nuclear physics, religion, and mysticism.
Wow, yeah.
His intense fascination with atomic energy, the bomb, it led him to try to reconcile Christian iconography with the new realities of modern science, finding connections between the atom and the divine.
That's a leap. A very Dalí leap.
Exactly. It represents a truly singular, somewhat bizarre intellectual framework that informed much of his later work. Imagine trying to find harmony between the destructive power of the atom and the spiritual comfort of religion in the atomic age. That's the space he was exploring.
Nuclear mysticism. It really underscores his constant drive to connect seemingly unrelated ideas. What other core beliefs and influences significantly shaped his unique worldview?
Well, the testimonies consistently emphasize his profound belief in the significance of dreams and the subconscious. That's core surrealism, of course.
Right.
He was also deeply captivated by recurring themes: eroticism, mortality, decay. His relationship with religion was complex, evolving from anti-clerical youth to later Catholicism. And notably, he maintained a keen interest in science and mathematics, often incorporating those concepts into his art in subtle ways.
So it's this incredibly intricate web of beliefs, interests, experiences, all feeding into his extraordinary art and his unforgettable persona. It's no wonder he remained so captivating.
Absolutely. He contained multitudes, as they say.
What is his lasting impact, his enduring legacy on the art world and popular culture?
Oh, it's undeniable and far-reaching. The testimonies confirm his status as one of the most versatile and prolific artists of the 20th century, and certainly the most globally renowned figure of surrealism.
Yeah, the face of the movement for most people.
Definitely. His utterly distinctive style has exerted a lasting influence on art history, still inspiring contemporary artists. You can even see his influence in later movements like pop art artists like Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst have acknowledged it.
And his influence extends far beyond the traditional art world, doesn't it? Those melting clocks. They're just everywhere in popular culture.
Absolutely. His imagery is deeply ingrained. His work has inspired films, music videos, fashion, advertising. You name it. Even his persona, that instantly recognizable look, continues to fascinate and be referenced. He truly transcended the art world and became a global cultural icon whose influence persists.
So, as we conclude this bizarre journey into the life of Salvador Dalí, what key insights can we draw? It seems overwhelmingly clear that his eccentricity wasn't just an affectation,
Yeah, no, not just a stunt.
but a fundamental driving force behind his artistic innovation and his enduring fame. He strategically, maybe brilliantly, blurred the lines between the spectacle of his life and the beauty of his art.
Creating this captivating enigma.
Exactly. You asked us to uncover the key elements, and it's abundantly clear that Dali's unwavering willingness to embrace the unconventional, even the outrageously bizarre, was absolutely central to his unique genius.
A one-off, really.
Truly. We sincerely hope this bizarre journey into his unhinged life has provided you with a fresh perspective on this truly iconic figure. What other outrageous lives from history spark your curiosity? Let us know, and perhaps that will be our next Lifespan Bizarre Journey.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your suggestions.
Remember to share, rate, and follow Lifespan for more wild stories.